Hello friends, I'm back. If you're interested to know where I've been, stick around to the end of the video where I share why I've been away from YouTube for so long. In the meantime, I want to share with you this incredibly easy and delicious recipe for vanilla custard pudding cooked in a Vitamix blender. This recipe is so simple and wholesome. The nice thing about this recipe is it probably contains ingredients that you already have on hand. Don't forget to hit that like button as well as subscribe, and leave a comment if you're so inclined. I always enjoy hearing from my viewers. So come along with me as I show you how easy it is to make old-fashioned vanilla custard pudding in a Vitamix blender. Here are the ingredients that you will need to make a delicious old-fashioned vanilla custard pudding. 3 cups of whole milk, or half and half, 3 large eggs that have been cracked into a small bowl, 3/4 cup of granulated white sugar, 6 tablespoons of pure cornstarch, 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, and a healthy pinch of salt. Now, whether to use whole milk or half and half is entirely a matter of personal preference. I love the richness and the silky mouthfeel that half and half gives the finished pudding, although using whole milk will also give you a delicious dessert. This recipe could not be easier, although you do want to pay attention to the order in which you place the ingredients in the blender. Pour the eggs into the Vitamix blender bowl, followed by the cornstarch, then the sugar, and then the salt. Finally, add the milk or half and half so that everything is covered by the liquid. We do not want to add the butter or the vanilla at this time until after the pudding is done. Cover the Vitamix blender with the lid, making sure that the lid is firmly in place. Check to make sure that the speed is at the lowest setting, and then turn the power on and start blending. Allow the Vitamix to run at its lowest setting for about 15 to 20 seconds just to stir everything together. If you notice any cornstarch sticking to the side of the container that is not dissolving, turn the Vitamix off and remove the lid. Using a plastic spatula, scrape the sides of the blender to mix in any undissolved cornstarch. Don't worry if the cornstarch is floating around in the container in a lumpy mess. The Vitamix will make quick work out of the lumpy mess. Replace the lid on the blender container and check to make sure that the speed dial is still on the lowest setting. Turn on the Vitamix and slowly increase the speed to the highest setting and allow the Vitamix to run for approximately 6 to 7 minutes. After raising the dial to the highest setting, you will notice that the pudding mixture is very thin and splashing up to the top of the blender container. This is perfectly normal. After about 6 minutes, you will notice 2 telltale signs that the pudding is fully cooked and ready for the butter and vanilla. The first sign is that as the pudding is mixing inside the blender container, it stops splashing up to the top of the container. Instead, the mixture becomes thicker and swirls around the lower half of the blender jar. The second telltale sign is if you remove the center cap of the blender lid, there is a lot of steam coming out of the opening. Be very careful removing the center cap or the blender lid. The steam is very hot and can cause a nasty burn if you're not careful. Once you have verified that the pudding is cooked and ready, turn the speed down to the lowest setting and add the butter and vanilla. Allow the pudding to mix on the lowest setting until the butter and vanilla are combined, about 15 to 20 seconds. Then turn the Vitamix off and carefully remove the lid. Transfer the pudding to either a serving dish or to your storage container. If you do not want a skin forming on your cooled pudding, make sure to cover the hot pudding with plastic wrap so that the plastic wrap is touching the pudding as it cools. Alternately, if you enjoy pudding skin, let it cool naturally and enjoy warm in about an hour, or place it in the refrigerator for about 4 hours, or overnight is best, and then enjoy it chilled. The hot pudding can be mixed with any number of add-ins such as walnuts, pecans, raisins, marshmallows, cooked rice, etc. You are only limited by your imagination. I hope you give this a try. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I really do enjoy hearing from all of you. If you've made it this far, then you obviously want to hear about what I've been up to for the last year. The pictures you are looking at right now are photos of our vacation to Japan to visit my in-laws. While my husband and I were in Japan on vacation in Tokyo last November, we went to lunch with a couple of his former co-workers with whom he has remained good friends for almost 20 years. During the lunch, my husband mentioned that he was looking for a new job. After a pause, his friend asked if he would ever consider moving to Japan to join his team working in the Tokyo area. When we returned from vacation, we were very excited about the opportunity, and we immediately started looking into the specifics of moving overseas. Finding a long-term renter for our home and property management proved to be only two of the more difficult problems we encountered. We also discovered that although my husband could work in Japan without any problem, I would not be able to get a traditional spousal visa because the Japanese government doesn't recognize same-sex marriages between Japanese citizens and foreigners. If we were both non-Japanese, there are exceptions to the spousal visa that we could pursue. But since my husband is a Japanese citizen and a green card holder in the US, we are specifically excluded from a Japanese spousal visa. We are not the only couple being hurt by this policy, and although this is being challenged in the Japanese courts, it will be several years before this is resolved, and unfortunately we are left in limbo in the meantime, and there is no recourse for us. For him to work in Japan while I continue to live in the USA is not an acceptable option for either of us. It was shortly thereafter that COVID-19 reared its ugly head, and that has turned out much worse than expected. There is much more to the trials and tribulations of our moving overseas, but that would require making this video several hours long. So, as of now, an exciting career move and adventure of living in Japan is not going to happen for us. Maybe someday, but we're not going to hold our breath. I've sufficiently recovered from the disappointment that I'm ready to start making videos again, so let me know if there is something that you would like me to make. I hope to see you next time on Adventures in Food with Howard. Until then, have a great day.